Here. Mr. Valentine. Here. Mr. Beaver. Here. Mr. Parker. Here. Mr. Evans is here. Let the record show that all the directors are in attendance. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve.
Actually, I've got a request for the chairman. I'd like to add an agenda item to closed session. This topic came up subsequent to the posting of the agenda. This would be closed session item, real property negotiations for Hangar 927 between Mojave and Spaceport and Scaled Composite.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda with this addition that has come up subsequent to the posting of the agenda?
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Mr. Allred. Is there a second? Second. Beaver. Second by Mr. Beaver. Mr. Nave, did you have something to say?
I did.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that there's a need to take action.
Oh, it's Jim. Karina, is there a need to take action?
Yes.
Okay. Good point is well brought up. Okay, with that, roll call vote to approve then. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Beaver. Aye. Mr. Parker.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. It's unanimous. The agenda is approved. Are there any community announcements? Being no community announcements, we move to item 3, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Was that Mr. Valentine that made the motion?
Yeah, motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through D.
And it was seconded by Mr. Allred?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Beaver. Aye. Mr. Parker.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. 5. The agenda is approved. We move to item number 4. Action items. Item A. Staff will give a report.
Unmute yourself. Press the star key twice.
Yes, thank you. I think I needed the line that was giving some feedback. John, I think that's your line, so if you have something to say, please let me know. Maybe just shoot me a text message if you can. So, and I apologize to the board in advance. We do have a number of action items that you'll have to take roll call vote on individually, but I do think it's probably in the best interest to go through them one at a time, and I can give a brief overview of each of the items. First is action item A, the California City Airports project. So just to refresh the board's memory, two fiscal years ago, we actually had the $50,000 grant for California City that we rolled forward an additional year. And so the second year, we had the additional $50,000. So we had a total of $100,000 liability on the book. When they came to us in May with a project at the airport that the board had approved, that reduced the balance ultimately down to $16,000, which is what we have on the books today. So just as you recall, we don't have anything set aside for this fiscal year, but we still have the $16,000 liability on the books from the prior year. So what I would like to do, what I'd like to request of the board is, rather than come to the board for every single request to reimburse the airport, instead just give me the authority to essentially decide what is eligible to reduce the liability and just pay that out. So for example, they've come to us recently with 2 additions to the roof repair, which is the HVAC upgrade to the terminal building. And I can do either. I can either ask the board to just approve those individually, or I can ask if the board can just give me the authority to spend this remaining $16,000 and just request that they use it up this fiscal year. And that's what I'm coming to the board with today, unless the board would prefer a different direction.
So the request is that we give you the authority to spend that money, what's left, $16,000, as they approach you for expense reimbursement without having to come to the board each time. That's what you're seeking.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
And just to be clear, that's up to the $16,000 liability we have.
Correct. Yep, not to exceed 16,000.
Okay, I'll make the
Okay,
motion.
is there any? Okay, motion by Mr. Valentine. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Either. Mr. Allred, I think, got in there before you did, Bill. He made the second. Is there any public comment? All right. We will then vote. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Deaver.
Aye.
Mr. Parker.
Nay.
Mr. Evans votes yes. 4-1 in favor. The motion is approved. Item 4B, staff.
I'm going to pick up the phone here. I've got some jet noise behind me. Hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. So the items B through E all relate to each other, but I'm going to go through these one at a time. So I'm absolutely thrilled to inform the board that we have received our grant award for Taxiway Charlie rehab. And just to remind the board, this is essentially a full rehab of Charlie, all the way from runway 8 to the end of Q6. So it's going to be a fantastic project and improvement for the airport. So what I'll need to have the board do, and I apologize for not getting this in for the last minute, but we just got the award on Thursday. We weren't expecting it for another month, so our preference is to try to get everything sooner the better because we can start construction sooner. So the first item, which is item B, is actual acceptance of the grant. So the supplemental award for this portion of the project is $8,554,706. And I listed out in the staff memo the individual costs, the estimates at least, so you understand the difference between what we're getting from FAA and what our match is. I'm happy to go through anything more specific, but I'll kind of spare you all of the additional details that we've sort of labored over in the past, unless there are specific questions about this.
Are there any other comments? Does the board have any questions relative to item 4B? With that, the chair will entertain a motion.
And this is a motion to accept the grant with number listed on the agenda, right?
Correct.
Affirmative.
Correct.
Right, I'll make the motion.
Mr. Valentine has made the motion to approve and accept the grant. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by, was that Mr. Allred?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we will now vote. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Deaver.
Aye.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 5-0. Item 4A is approved and accepted. Item 4C, staff report.
Excellent. So the next order of business, what we'll need to do is, you'll notice that when I broke out our local match, we've got essentially $950,000. That's our obligation for this project. That's what we're coming out of pocket. Of that, we're applying for a grant from Caltrans, which is California Department of Transportation, their aeronautical division. And they typically award up to $150,000 to offset some of the local match. We do need to ask the board to approve us to move forward with the application by resolution, which is attached here in this item and then listed in your agenda. So the request is to authorize me to finish the application for the state matching grant and then accept the allocation of the matching grant and execute the agreement for the project.
Is there a motion to do such? Deaver's out. Mr. Valentine and Mr. Deaver, motion and second. Is there any public comment? Being none, the chair will take a roll call vote. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Deaver.
Aye.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0, and that grant is approved. Item 4D.
Fantastic. The next item is the actual award for the construction contract. So when we went up to bid, we had bid opening April 30th. We had 4 contractors submit bids. The low bidder was Granite Consruction. We sent them a notice of intent to award, but we can't officially award until we get the actual grant award from FAA, and then the board approves their contract. So I didn't submit the full bid simply because there's just a lot of detailed information. I sent the summary page. When we sign it, we'll have the full contract to sign. So what I'm requesting of the board is that we award the construction contract for Taxiway Charlie to Granite Consruction, and we'll have the actual contract for probably David to sign as board chairman, which is being mailed to us this week.
Is there any public comment on this? Any board questions? Is there a motion then to grant the project, Taxiway C project, to Granite Construction for the contract?
Motion to grant.
Mr. Allred makes a motion to grant the contract to Granite Construction. Is there a second?
Second by Mr. Parker.
Mr. Parker seconds the motion. Roll call vote. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Deaver.
Aye.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. It is granted to Granite Construction. Item 4E, staff report.
The remaining item here is the construction administration piece. So Mead & Hunt is our engineering services firm, and we do have a engineering services agreement with them. They handle all of our FAA work up to this point, and their bid is in line with what the FAA would expect for a project of this size. We did talk with FAA about this. They don't have any objections, any concerns about the proposal. It is essentially time and materials, but this is their estimate for the project. So what I'm asking for is that we award the construction administration contract to Mead & Hunt. And, again, this is going to be largely reimbursed by FAA. We'll be on the hook for about 10% of the cost, but everything else will be compensated by FAA.
Is there any public comment?
Would Caltrans fund the 5% of that?
So it's the total project only. So what they'll award is up to 5% of the project value. I said contract, I meant project. They'll award up to 5% of the project value, but they typically cap it at $150,000. So I think my prediction is because we're doing this project pretty early in the fiscal year for the state, I'm fairly confident we'll get the full $150,000. So that'll come, regardless of what it's applied to, whether it's the design that we've already paid for, the construction itself, or the administration piece. It's still going to be the $150,000 total.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Any other board questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve the construction administration contract to Mead & Hunt? Motion by Mr. Deaver.
Second.
Second by Mr. Allred. Roll call vote. Mr. Allred.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Deaver. Aye. Mr. Parker.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 5-0. It is approved for Mead & Hunt. We move to item 5, reports, finance report. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm on. These are the financial reports for month ending June 30th, so wrapping up the year. We are currently working with the auditors. Everything seems to be on track. They are scheduled to start working on our audit on the week of August 17th. For this bank balance, we've had a $103,000 increase. That was probably due to fuel. As you can see, we wrapped up June 30th. We did for 1 million gallons in this last year, even with COVID going on. So great job to the fuel. Yes. And then on the AR report, over 90, there are a few customers we have that, due to COVID, had financial hardships. We have been working with them. Some of them have made payment arrangements. Some of them are pending payment plans. We would like to send pay or quit notices to any tenants that don't follow through on their payment plans or do not provide us a payment plan. And just wanted to check with the board if anyone has any concerns on any of these tenants on this list, if we were to send them pay or quit.
So I think we have policy on it, don't we?
Yeah. But just with COVID and with everything going on, just wanted to verify.
Well, I think if we tried to work with them and then we come up with some agreement, that would be the exception. But if they're not adhering to the agreement, I think we need to stay ahead of this.
Okay.
My opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anybody's arguing with you, Jim. Looks like we agree.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Item 5B, CEO report.
So I just want to highlight something Carrie just said about the fuel sales. So this is the second year in a row we sold 1 million gallons of fuel. And just to remind the board, we haven't seen this level of fuel sales since the early 2000s. So it's, I think it's a real testament to just the amount of activity that we're accommodating out here, in addition to the ability for our fuels department led by Harold to accomplish all of these tasks with a relatively small team. So really appreciate all the hard work that team is doing, especially, since March, from about March to early June, we had very little activity. So I think if we didn't have the Kerbin operations the way we did, it'd probably be a much better year than it was last year. Just a quick update on the COVID-19 situation. So, I do tune in to Kern County PIO calls usually once a week or every couple of weeks if they don't cancel them, just to kind of stay up to date on what's going on in the county. So they are definitely seeing an uptick in the number of cases, and they're thinking that the peak probably won't hit Bakersfield area until sometime in the winter, December, January. So they're anticipating to continue seeing an increase up through then. So what that means for us ultimately is we have such a I'd say it's a pretty active operations tempo in general. So we've got a full staff here. We are taking the precautions necessary, wearing masks, keeping folks socially distanced. But we can't really afford to scale back on the size of the team on any given day. So we'll just kind of take it day by day and see how we need to accommodate going forward as much as we can. The other thing that I had on the updates was just the Office of Airport Conference, which is now canceled. No surprise. It was supposed to be later this month. And you all know everything about what's going on with Taxiway Charlie. The other thing that we noted on improvements is just the amount of work that Jason's put into improving the security and the technology so far this fiscal year, upgrading the radar for the camera system, in addition to the access control for the elevator in the tower. So we're off to a really good start so far this year. A few new month-to-month leases on the T hangars, and that's about all I wanted to highlight unless the board has questions on the report.
Any more questions?
Are there any T hangars available?
Not at the moment. We actually had a few that we were reserving for the taxiway project, so I think we're down to our last one for another tenant to move from the front row into one of the other hangars. So once that's filled, I think we're full again.
Right on.
So we very much some more.
I know, that'd be great.
Hey, I have a question for you now. Most of those hangars that we're going to be taking down for the Taxiway C project are pieces of crap. But there's a couple of them that I know that are newer hangars. Is there any value in hanging on to them and putting some that in reconstructing them or not? I'm just throwing it up.
So it's a great question, and the bottom line is no. So we actually went through the process with the general contractor that does a lot of work out here, Wallace & Smith, just to see what it would take to take it down and rebuild it elsewhere. And at the end of the day, the conclusion we came to was it makes more sense just to put up a new hangar. And largely with these hangars, the value is just in the door itself, and we're always dealing with door problems with these hangars. So either way, we would probably invest in a new door, most likely. And if we're going to bother doing that, then we might as well just start with a new hangar. That's kind of the conclusion we came to. we really wouldn't come out of pocket much in terms of the difference. And the only ones that would be potentially salvageable would be 927, which we'll talk about here in a moment. That's just, that was kind of what Floyd and I came to at the end of the day, was the cost to engineer, take down, rebuild. We might as well just put up a new hangar.
Okay, I just think it was a reasonable question, but I have to agree with you. If there was any difference, it would be very little, I'm sure.
That's a good question.
All right, thank you, everybody. We have no board committees. Are there any directors that have any comments? Okay, there are no directors. Did somebody have a comment?
No, I'm just laughing. I said, none that I can make.
Okay, gotcha. I'm slow, but I eventually catch on. So there are no director comments. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? I don't hear any public. Okay, we will now move to closed session.
There's several folks on the call, but I don't know if anyone was planning to make a comment.
Okay, well, we will move to closed session then.
So just a reminder, anyone who's not a director, please
Hello, are we still here?
Call. We're still here. You still here, Terry?
Hello? I'm here. Oh,
yeah,
I'm here.
we're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right.
Let us know when we're good in closed session, Karina. How do we know people off the line?
I've got it on my computer, so I can actually. I just want to make sure I don't hang up on any directors. Okay, so. Or myself. Make sure I don't hang up on myself. All right, so we've got there's Bill, there's Jim. Andrew, are you 7482?
Yes.
Okay. John, I'm going to disconnect you. I think that's John from Rosewood News.
Right.
All right. Thanks, John. Goodbye.